All right, we've got a lot to talk about. Hey guys. All right, so I want to work on a brand for this one that, I have kind of tried in the past, but I really wanted to work on what I always said was like the original collection. That probably doesn't really make any sense. But anyways, maybe, if I explain a bit more, you'll get what I'm saying. The brand, I'm just going to get to the point here, that I am talking about is Galison. Now, as I said, I have worked on a Galison before, but it was from the Good Puzzle Company collection. It was definitely a less expensive collection from Galison. And since that video, I have been saying that I wanted to work on, what I would say a true Galison, if that makes sense. So, since then, I have picked up not only a 500 count set, but a 1000 count set since. And the 500 count puzzle is called Beside the Sea. The artist is Laura Moyer, and it's 20 by 20 inches when it's completed. And then the 1000 count puzzle that we have here is Spring on Park Avenue. The artist is Storrings, and it's 20 by 27 inches when it's completed. Now, I absolutely love both of these images. I mean, for the 500 count puzzle, I'm pretty sure I set this when I think I bought this from Barnes & Noble's, but I could totally see myself walking down this street here, pretty much hopping from shop to shop, eating my way down the street. I mean, probably except for the lobster rolls, that would probably give me a very severe allergic reaction, but it looks like they serve hot chocolate, so that's okay. But I love the colors in this image. It's very bright. I love looking at the steaming cups of coffee or tea on the picnic tables here. It's just very inviting. And then for the 1000 count puzzle, again, another bright, beautiful image. I love Storrings' artwork. The colors are bright. My first real job back in the day when I lived in New York City was on Park Avenue. So, I have a bit of a connection with this image here. But anyways, what I remember from my experience with Galison's Good Puzzle Company puzzle, I don't remember it being that great, honestly. So I am curious to see if these, I guess you could say a little bit more expensive puzzles from Galison, I keep saying it, the true Galison puzzles, are these going to be any better? I don't know. I really do hope so, because as I said, they do cost a little more, and not by a lot. I mean, I paid $14.99 for the 500 and $16.99 for the 1000 count. And I think the Good Puzzle Company one was less than that, probably less than $10. But again, I don't quite remember. But anyways, as I said, I wonder if this is gonna have, overall better quality, better hold, better everything compared to my first and last experience with the brand. So you know what? Let's just get into it, because I feel like, the 1000 count image is gonna take me longer because it looks a bit tricky, but we'll see, right? But anyways, let's get a move on with this. All right, so let's get these opened up. Now, I want to start with the 500 count puzzle. And the thing that I noticed with Galison, well, not that I noticed, I guess it's the standard, they're not sealed. None of the boxes are ever sealed, no matter how much you pay for them. There's no stickers on the side to keep it, together. So, I don't know. I find that a bit strange. And anyways, let's get this one opened up. We have ourselves a small reference image here, which is nice. It's actually smaller than the box image itself. I mean, you're better off just using the box image. But anyways, that's in there. So, that's never a bad thing. But let's open these pieces up and let's see what we got here. Because I'm already seeing we got ourselves a nice piece size. I'm not seeing any puzzle dust, really, which is always a good thing. Now, first thing that's caught my eye is the piece size. So I have to, get myself a little measurement here to see what we got. We have 43.6 millimeters or 1.71 inches. That's nice, nearly a 2-inch piece with this one here. And in terms of thickness, we have 0.07 inches or 1.9 millimeters. And, I'm trying to give him a little not a squeeze here and there, a little push and pull. And if I remember correctly, I feel like these feel stronger than the Good Puzzle Company collection from Galison. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to pull it out. Hold on a second. All right, it took me a while to find it. I'm trying to rush because it looks like my camera battery is dying. But anyways, in terms of the piece strength, let's see here. How do these compare? Oh, there's actually a huge difference here. This is the one from the Good Puzzle Company collection from Galison. And this was, I remember, less expensive than, you know, as I jokingly say, the true Galison puzzles. But yeah, I mean, you can see how much give we got there. I don't want to break it or anything. I'm going to put this one back. But these do not feel that way. Definitely more strength to them. Not incredible amounts of extra strength, but, you know, it's not bending as I'm putting the same force as the other one. So that's a good thing, you know, because I was wondering, you know, when I first tried out this puzzle, if, you know, the more expensive ones were going to be any better. And they're both 500 count. So yeah, you know, this one was $14.99, and I think I spent less than $10 on that one at full price. So yeah, that's super interesting. Now, in terms of the print, we got ourselves some really good colors here. It's bright. It does look very true to the box image. We do have some glare. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but you know, I don't think this is really a matte finish with this one. I don't know, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it's just there's too much sun coming from this side of the camera, but I don't know. We'll see as we puzzle along. But yeah, the strength is completely different compared to the Good Puzzle Company collection in the 500 count. So now that we've done this one, let's quickly see what this 1000 count puzzle is like before my camera dies on me. All right, we also got ourselves a reference image here that's much smaller than the box image itself. You know, it's a little handy thing to have around. Again, I'm not really seeing too much puzzle dust, which is very nice. And then in terms of the pieces here, oh my goodness, this is interesting. Oh my gosh, look at those colors. Those are some super bright colors here. I mean, the image itself is fairly bright as well. So, you know, I would say very true to the box image or reference image, you know, whichever. But, I mean, it's obviously a smaller piece size here compared to the 500 count. Here's your 500 and that's your 1000 count piece. Now, in terms of how, you know, measurements, you know, let's do some actual measurements here. We have 28 millimeters. Or 1.1 inch, and in terms of thickness, we've got 0.6 inches, 0.06 inches, sorry, or 1.7 millimeters. You know, they still feel pretty strong, even, you know, with me putting that same force on all of them. The tabs feel pretty strong. They don't feel too weak. Did I say there was quite a bit of glare on this one? Because, yeah, this has quite a glossy finish. But to be honest, with an image like this, you know, the gloss really makes those colors pop. So it's not, you know, entirely a bad thing. It's going to look absolutely beautiful when it's all put together. Now, speaking of when it's all put together, you know, I'm curious what this hold is going to be like. I'm going to have to watch my video of the Good Puzzle Company review that I did, because I honestly don't remember. I ain't gonna lie. I don't remember. It was a long time ago, okay? But yeah, again, you know, what we're really comparing here is, you know, the true Galison 500 and 1000 count puzzle experiences. And I'll most likely throw in my thoughts, you know, comparing this one to this less expensive option. So yeah, I got quite a bit to do here. This is gonna be a lot of puzzling, so let's finally just get started with this.
All right, so first up is the 500 count puzzle.
All right, I didn't take too long with this one because you know, honestly, there was not much going on here. I mean, there is, but I mean in terms of like colors or, you know, what I can do to go about sorting it. But anyways, first tray we have edges. Second tray here is going to be pieces for the building. So it's gonna be more oranges and like this green area here. No, this is bigger. Yeah, buildings. This tray we have like the bluey green water background, and there's going to be boats in there and whatnot. Next tray we have the sky, so the sun is there as well, and there's going to be some details in there as well. It's not just white pieces or much lighter pieces. Then this tray here is going to be more building pieces, but it's going to be anything with pinks. I don't know why, but I felt like pinks had to go in a separate tray, even though there's like other colors in some of them, but if there's pink, I put it in that one. Next tray here, I put in pieces for, I guess you can call it the boardwalk. Is this a boardwalk or like the pier? This light brownish area here. And again, there's, well, not again, I mean, this area down here is going to be in there, like the picnic tables and whatnot. So it's more like the bottom part of the image. And then this last tray here, I just put anything with like trees, plants and whatnot. It wasn't really necessary now that I think about it, but I did it anyways because why not? And then, yeah, that's just empty. So not too bad. As I said, it was pretty straightforward. Didn't take too long with it because I really want to get on with piecing it together. So let's do that.
All right, so for this one, I started with the edges, and I must say, I was already seeing what I was going to be dealing with, because, oh my goodness, it's not often where I come across a puzzle where the edges are holding up super well together. So you know I was already getting super excited about this experience. But anyways, I then started working on the bottom of the puzzle, then decided to tackle the trays holding the pieces for the buildings. Piecing that was my most favorite part of the image because you know I love me some food. I did think this was going to make me do some resorting, but with those bold colors and sharp details, I didn't have to. A great print does go a long way, and I found it easy pinpointing what I was looking at and where each piece sat. With both the print and the hold driving me bananas in a good way, I just couldn't stop puzzling. All right, I've been flying through this puzzle, and I don't know if it's because, you know, I love the image or it's just fairly simple to piece together. I don't know, but this has been fantastic. And in terms of quality, not too bad, but we'll get more into that later. Let's just hurry up and finish this one. And what do I mean about not too bad? Well, when I was sorting this one, I did come across pieces that were not cut all the way through. So there were some that I had to carefully take apart without tearing the print or the backing. And I also came across a few bent pieces, which from my experience tends to happen with puzzle pieces this size. Almost like they get a bit packed too tightly in the bag during production or something. But the beauty of this image made up for that, as well as that super hold it had. After about 2 hours, I was finally able to take my steaming hot cup of tea and sit beside the sea. But I couldn't sit for too long because I had a 1,000 count to tackle next.
Oh, all right. My neck really hurts after doing this, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm a little out of practice from my vacation. But anyways, here's what I did for this one. So, had my reference image with me. We got a lot going on here, so I think what I did is gonna help. I don't know, but anyways, here's what I did. We have edges. We have here multicolor. So we have all the reds, the greens, and that's basically gonna be all this area with all the flowers. This next tray over here has pieces with like kind of a deep pink hue to them. So what I'm guessing here, it's gonna be any of the pieces like within the pink trees in these areas and whatnot. So there's gonna be other stuff in there as well, but I kind of got like the darker pinks going on. Yeah, and then this one we kind of have, not sure if you can see it, but these pieces all have a lighter pink hue to them. They could be from the buildings, they can be from the street, I don't know, but you know, they got kind of like a light pink going on in there. This tray is buildings, all the buildings. I just threw them in there, so this is probably gonna need a resort. The next tray here are pieces for the sidewalk, or you know, what I could make out to be the sidewalk. Kind of has like these purpley bits going across it and whatnot. you know, kind of like how you can see here. So I collected all those in that tray. This tray, you know, it's mainly greens, like deep greens. So I'm feeling like it's going to be any of these areas here. Also these little trees that are in there. Yeah, just green. Again, there's going to be other colors in there, but I think you can kind of get an idea here just by looking at what I did. You see, we got other stuff, but the most part is the dark green. And then for the last tray here, oh, my camera's wobbly. We have any of the pieces that had yellows, blacks, and anything with people. So it's going to be anything from this area and all the taxi cabs. We got a number of them here, so we got a lot of resorting to do in this tray as well. Now, is it all perfect? Of course not. It never is. But, you know, that's not important anyways. What I feel like I've done here, I think it's going to help me. Again, we're going to need to resort, you know, throughout the completion process, and that's okay. So let's just move on with it. So I knew with this image that starting with the edges again was going to be the best bet, because my goodness, those trays were full of madness. So as soon as the frame was pieced together, I surprisingly decided to tackle the overflowing tray, which had all the buildings. And I went straight into resorting. And that wasn't too difficult because each building had its own uniqueness to it, thanks to the artist. And once those separate piles were made, I made sure they were in their respective spots based on the artwork and went right on to piecing them together. Considering that helped me get through the top section of the puzzle, I knew my best bet would be to take the same approach with the bottom section of the puzzle. Alright, so far so good. So we've got the buildings taking shape here, and I feel like, you know, I know I said this during the sorting, but I knew a lot of these trays were going to require some resorting. So as you can see here, and I did the same thing with the buildings as well when I, you know, before I put it together, but I'm now working on the tray that had like the taxi cabs and people and things like that. So as you can see here, from that big pile, separated anything with the yellow, people, reds, and the blacks and dark grays here. So hopefully this will help me get this bottom area, you know, taking shape. We'll see. In regards to the other trays, let's see what we got here. Got some trays with a few pieces, some with more than others. That's not too bad. Do I have another one in here? Yeah, not too terrible. So my bigger trays here, well, now this is separated. Well, that's what's left from that tray. And then here, I haven't touched these yet. This, I think, is going to probably be the last thing I work on, because that's madness. And then we have the greens. Oh, Jesus, that's another one full of madness. That's, yeah. Okay, so, you know what? I'm not going to jump ahead thinking about those yet. Let's move on with this. Let's see how long this is going to take me. Resorting these trays really was a great way for me to get through those areas. But do note that this method, which is like resorting by colors or specific details, doesn't work for all puzzles. It really depends on what you're working on, and that can go for an entire image or just some sections or areas of the image. And I knew as I was piecing along that I was getting onto trays that I knew weren't going to work out exactly the same way. All right, so I'm really struggling right now. I was able to get some of these pink tops of the trees done here, but I haven't gotten started on these areas here. Where's the picture? Let's see. Yeah, I need to get started on these at some point, but the biggest issue that I'm having here is, for one, in this pink tray, I mean, these pieces look very, very similar. And then I have this last one here, which I haven't really touched at all. And I mean, look at this design. They all look the same. This is like, I don't even know how I'm gonna go about sorting this one. I haven't the slightest clue. I mean, my only option really, now that I think about it, is resorting it by shape. that might be the only way I can get through this. I do have a few pieces here in this tray with some greens, which really shouldn't take me too long. That's gonna be like these areas here. But yeah, I mean, these trays, these are the ones that are really slowing me down right now. So yeah, I mean, I also have, you know, I'm sure you've seen throughout some of the time lapses that I've been making messes here and there, but you know, that's to be expected. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll resort by shape. I'll see what I can do, maybe get these last few pieces in place and then go from there. All right, let's see how much longer this is gonna take.
Once I got in whatever I had left of the greens, I tackled the pink trees and went right into resorting the tray with all those flowers by shape. For this image, these last few areas were definitely the hardest to piece together. And it was a little frustrating at times, I'm not gonna lie. And what also made this quite frustrating was the overall lack of hold. Sadly, this was a crumbly experience. So I had to do a lot of repiecing areas together as I really couldn't move sections easily around my table. Even using my trusty puzzle scoop didn't help much as it was tricky sliding it under the sections. But anyways, at least I can say that this was the only big negative I came across with this 1000 count Galison. After about 5 hours, or what felt like an eternity, I was able to take a brisk walk to my job on Park Avenue. Oh, I have some great memories of my first real job, but let's not get off topic here. After completing this one, I decided to finally watch my Galison Good Puzzle Co. video to refresh my memory and compile all my thoughts regarding this well-known brand.
So, after viewing my video of the Good Puzzle Co. by Galison puzzle, which I'm going to try my best to remember to put a link down below in case you haven't seen that one yet, I want to do a quick comparison between that puzzle and the one that we just did. So let's refresh our minds here for a sec, and in case you have no idea what I'm talking about, the Good Puzzle Co. puzzle is their more budget-friendly collection. It's less expensive than what I always say a true Galison puzzle is. And I'm sure and hope by now you understand what I mean when I say true Galison. I don't know how else to say it, but you know, the main collection. But anyways, with that, I did find that you do get a different experience with each one. And with that, let's talk about the overall feel, you know, the overall quality of these two puzzles. Now, they are both made out of 90% recycled paper. It's the same stuff, but I decided to get the calipers on the Good Puzzle Co., and it was just a tiny bit thinner than the true Galison. So that would explain why it felt flimsier when I put my beastly force on them earlier. And when you sift through these with your fingers, you can feel the difference. The true Galison feels so much nicer and sturdier, and really just overall look and feel like you paid a little more for it. The other, well, you know, they're there. It's alright, it's basic, but it's not terrible. But I do feel like the print on both are very good, and the colors on the print look rich and sharp. Now, the level of the glare, I don't know, I feel like was a bit tricky for me to figure out. The website does tout that their packaging, their boxes are a matte finish, but I couldn't find out if the pieces were as well. But I feel like there is some form of gloss or satin finish to these pieces, because in certain lighting, those colors did really pop out to me, which was nice, and I don't really remember suffering too much with the glare. So yeah, as I said, it was a bit tricky for me to figure out. Now, in terms of piece size, they were both pretty much the same. It's a great piece size, and you get so much detail in each one. I love it. But the next thing I want to mention is something that I know a lot of people are not crazy about, including myself. And it's that there's only 2 different piece shapes in the 500 counts. Now with this, I didn't mind it too much because the piece size was very decent, and it made resorting by shape very easy because, you know, you're only sorting out 2 different pieces. But take note of that if you don't like ribbon cut. I think that's what it's called. And now let's get into my big thing, which is the fit and hold. With the Good Puzzle Company puzzle, the hold was there, it was really good, but it did have some weird like levitating skills in areas. It would kind of bend upwards and I'd have to keep pressing it down. I did not deal with that with this one. Not only was the hold great from start to finish, but there was no weird lifting off the table or anything. It was great. So of the two 500 counts, I would go crazy and spend a few extra bucks on a full-blown Galison puzzle. It's really not that much of a price difference, and you do get a much better overall puzzling experience, in my opinion. So with that, let's now talk about the 1000 count puzzle. The print again is fantastic. The colors are just wow. And I don't know if that's a Galison thing or if that's really just dependent on the artwork itself. Like if the artist was into dull, boring colors, would it be different? I don't know. I don't buy those kind of puzzles, so you'll have to let me know if you do. But anyways, in terms of the glare or lack thereof, I still really can't figure out. It was pretty much the same as the 500 count. Sorry if I'm not being very helpful in that department. But anyways, the piece size I felt was like your typical 1000 count puzzle size. It was just right, but you definitely do get a better variety of piece shapes in this count. I think it was like 5 or 6 different ones. They felt great, they were sturdy, but my biggest issue with this one was it was crumbly. The lack of hold just made me sad. I couldn't even get a grip on it for the pickup test, so you know I didn't bother with the storage test. That would have been a waste of time. And if it wasn't for that, if it actually held up like the 500 count did, I probably would have felt like it could almost be considered perfect. But no. Anyways, this one was only a few bucks more than the 500 count. And overall, I think the prices are not bad really for what you get. They have some more interesting types of puzzles that cost a little more than $20, but the majority are under that, which is great. Like, if you did not care in the slightest for the hold on their 1000 counts, it's a great deal. But if I were to get another Galison puzzle, I think I would just stick with their 500 counts. Even though a couple of those pieces were hurt during production, and there are only 2 piece shapes, I feel like I enjoyed and preferred the whole overall experience with that one more. And the price is, to me, right for what you get. I feel fancy buying these, honestly. I feel like the packaging is beautiful. I just wish they would secure the boxes with like some little bit of tape or something, just so that, you know, a poster or anything doesn't go missing in the store. But anyways, I want to know your thoughts on Galison puzzles, and if you've actually experienced, you know, if you've also experienced the crumbliness with their 1000 count puzzles or with any other counts that they have. And as I briefly mentioned earlier, I did see on their website that they do have other types of puzzles and collections, so let me know what you think I should try next from them. So yeah, I think I've yapped enough in this video about Galison puzzles. I mean, please remember, in general, like, and this is with all my videos, I'm not a puzzle professional. I'm not very good with remembering all the puzzle lingo and facts of brands and whatnot. I just give you my ramblings and opinions based on my experiences. So you may have very different experiences, very different opinions than me, and if so, please always feel free to share them down below. But anyways, guys, I need to figure out what I'm going to work on next. As always, thank you so much for watching. Hope all is well, and I'll see you in the next one.